Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we cut through the noise, sift through the sources, and really try to unearth the essential nuggets of knowledge for you.
Glad to be here.
So today, we're plunging into a work of art that, well, for almost 600 years, has consistently captivated and frankly confounded viewers. Jan van Eyck's 1434 Arnolfini portrait.
It really is one of those works.
It's not just a painting, is it? It's this meticulously crafted illusion, a profound snapshot of a specific moment in history, and honestly, a visual puzzle box that just keeps yielding incredible insights.
Absolutely. The layers are phenomenal.
When you first encounter it, the Arnolfini portrait, it just immediately draws you into this remarkably real interior space. You feel the light from the window streaming in. You notice the texture of the exposed wooden floorboards. And you marvel at the way a single flickering candle flame, even in bright daylight, casts reflections on the polished brass chandelier. It's an extraordinary optical illusion, so serene and yet dense with detail.
Right. The level of detail is almost overwhelming at first.
Look closely, and you can almost feel the sunlight refract on those bright citrus fruits on the windowsill and the luxurious velvet fabric of their clothing. Van Eyck wasn't just, describing a scene. He was creating a sensory reality, pulling you right in.
He really immerses you.
And at the center of it all, you have Giovanni di Niccolao Arnolfini, a wealthy Italian merchant living in Bruges, and his wife, Costanza Trenta, who, sadly, it's often believed, passed away quite young.
Yes, so that's a key part of the story, or at least one major interpretation.
There's this incredible stillness, this deep sense of perspective that just resonates through the entire piece. And what immediately strikes you is the sheer material wealth on display.
Oh, definitely. It's unavoidable.
The rich silk and fur garments they wear, the exquisite Anatolian rug on the floor, that heavy juniper wood furniture. It's not just a hint of their riches, it's a bold declaration, almost this new concept of, interior loyalty for the Flemish society of that era.
That's a great way to put it, interior loyalty.
So the big question as we start this deep dive is, okay, let's unpack this. What makes this painting so much more than just a beautiful portrait? What hidden depths does it hold?
Well, that's precisely the right question to ask. What stands out immediately beyond its just captivating visual impact is that this isn't merely a portrait in the traditional sense we might think of.
That feels different.
It's, in essence, a visual manifesto, a really powerful statement. This painting profoundly encapsulates the social identity of this newly emergent, incredibly wealthy merchant class, a class that was rapidly reshaping European society.
A new power structure emerging.
Exactly. It reflects the immense cultural and economic power of the Burgundian Flemish dynasty, and maybe most importantly, it illustrates how individuals in the early Northern Renaissance began to define and position themselves within their world, moving beyond purely, say, religious or aristocratic narratives. And one of the most fascinating initial clues Van Eyck gives us is his deliberate and dramatic inscription, right there on the back wall in the painting. Johannes de Eyck voet Hic, which translates to Jan van Eyck was here.
Which is such a bold move.
It is. This isn't just an artist signing his work. It elevates the painting to something almost like a semi-official document. It emphasizes the artist's unique role as a witness, almost like a legal notary, to whatever significant event is unfolding before us.
Interesting.
So our journey today will take us deep into the secrets behind its truly revolutionary technique, its layers of hidden symbols, the rich and vibrant historical context of 15th century Bruges, and the compelling debates that continue to surround its true meaning even to this day.
Yeah, the debates are fascinating.
We're going to explore how art, commerce, and personal life were intricately intertwined back in the 15th century, all seen through the extraordinary lens of this single remarkable work.
So let's truly set the stage for this masterpiece then. To fully grasp the Arnolfini portrait, we absolutely need to immerse ourselves in the world it came from. And that world, in the 1430s, was the thriving city of Bruges. What made it such a pivotal place at that specific time?
Right. Bruges, under the enlightened and really powerful rule of Philip the Good, wasn't just a city. It was the undisputed commercial heart of the entire Duchy of Burgundy. You could almost think of it as the Silicon Valley or Wall Street of its day.
Wow.
Its strategic location was absolutely paramount. It served as the crucial nexus connecting North Sea ports, places like London and the Hanseatic League cities, directly with the powerful, wealthy Italian city-states like Venice, Florence, and Lucca. area.
The key hub.
Absolutely. It was the crucial hub for trade routes, facilitating the exchange of everything imaginable, from precious silk, exotic spices, intricate metal goods, to textiles and, critically, banking services.
So money and goods just flowing through.
Constantly. This magnetic pull of commerce made Bruges an irresistible destination for capital, attracting the most influential bankers and merchants from all across Europe. It genuinely became this vibrant, multicultural melting pot of European commerce, where fortunes were made and, importantly, new social structures were being forged.
And within that incredibly wealthy, dynamic environment, the Arnolfini family, they weren't just players. They were absolute titans, weren't they? How did they get such prominence in a city already overflowing with wealth?
They certainly were titans, yeah. A prime example of the kind of financial power emerging in this era. Giovanni di Niccolao Arnolfini himself was one of these incredibly affluent Italian silk merchants, originally hailing from Lucca in Italy.
Right, the Italian connection.
And his family didn't just deal in silk. They accumulated extraordinary wealth through this complex web of sophisticated banking operations, large-scale textile exhibitions, and, critically, the hugely lucrative Mediterranean citrus trade.
Citrus.
Yes.
Like oranges.
Exactly. Imagine the logistics, the challenge, and the capital required to bring oranges from distant lands like Spain to Bruges back in the 15th century.
That must have been incredibly expensive.
It was. And we have historical records, things like tax documents from the period that unequivocally show Giovanni's assets far, far exceeded those of the average bourgeois citizen. He wasn't just comfortable, he was astronomically rich.
So the painting isn't exaggerating.
Not at all. These records show him renting a substantial mansion and multiple warehouses in the Lombardian quarter of Bruges around 1430, which gives you a clear indication of the scale and ambition of his commercial operations.
Okay.
What's even more intriguing and directly relevant to our painting is how the Bruges guilds granted special legal privileges to foreign merchants like Arnolfini. This unique arrangement allowed them to arrange contracts and conduct business under their own patrimonial law.
So under Italian law, essentially.
Essentially their homeland's legal system, rather than local Bruges law. This innovative legal framework, in turn, led to fascinating new practices. For instance, these foreign merchants began calling upon highly respected figures, even celebrated court painters like Jan van Eyck himself.
Ah, here's the link.
Exactly, to act as notary witnesses in their significant commercial or personal agreements. So a painting could become far more than just a likeness. It could potentially be a formal document.
That's a fascinating connection. So, okay, what does all of this background mean for the painting itself? How does this deep dive into 15th century Bruges and the Arnolfini's financial empire influence what we actually see on the canvas? It's not just a pretty picture. It's a direct reflection of this whole economic and social ecosystem, isn't it?
Exactly. It's like a visual ledger, almost an invoice of their status and their connections. Contemporary chroniclers of the period actually took specific note of how the Italian merchant colony in Bruges masterfully blended the lavish domestic luxury of their Italian heritage with the exquisite finesse of Flemish craftsmanship.
The best of both worlds.
Kind of, yeah. They often emphasize specific items as undeniable symbols of prestige. The finest silk, rare furs, exotic fruits like those oranges, and highly ornamented mirrors.
Right, the mirror.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get back to that.
Oh, absolutely. So when your eye catches those oranges on the windowsill in the painting, they're far more than just a decorative element or purely religious symbols, as some might interpret them.
They're business indicators.
They are concrete, tangible signs of the flourishing Mediterranean trade flowing directly through Bruges. These were incredibly expensive imports brought back from daring Spanish expeditions. They literally represent the economic power, the global reach, and the sheer capital of a merchant like Arnolfini.
Oh.
Those oranges aren't a still life element. They're a direct visual invoice of Arnolfini's global trade empire, literally bringing the world's wealth right into their living room. The painting is essentially a curated visual inventory of their wealth, their connections, and their unique place in that society.
And the man behind this incredible visual inventory, Jan van Eyck, he was a revolutionary in his own right, especially when it came to painting technique. He's often credited with, well, ushering in the age of oil painting as we know it, or at least perfecting it to an unprecedented degree. What was so groundbreaking about his method?
Van Eyck was truly a master innovator. He wasn't just an artist, but
Hmm.
also, interestingly, a diplomat for Philip the Good, undertaking sensitive missions across Europe, from Italy all the way to Portugal. So he was very well connected and sophisticated,
A man of the world.
very much so. His true genius, though, lay in his sophisticated approach to painting, specifically his development and mastery of the oil medium. Instead of simply mixing pigments with a basic binder like egg tempera, which was common,
Right.
he used meticulously crafted mixtures of linseed oil and dried walnut oil. What this allowed was the layering of pigments in a way that light could penetrate through each layer, almost like light passing through translucent stained glass.
Ah, okay, so it's not opaque.
Exactly. Imagine building up paint not as a solid block, but as sheer luminous veils. The magic happens when the light reflects from the undertones, bounces back through those transparent layers, and returns to the surface, creating this unprecedented luminosity, depth, and richness of color that was simply impossible with earlier mediums like tempera, which typically produced a more matte, opaque finish.
It was a complete paradigm shift then.
Absolutely, a complete paradigm shift in how paintings could convey light and form.
Okay, this is where I find it really fascinating. It's not just the theory about his technique. Modern science has literally allowed us to look through the paint layers and see his process, almost like watching over his shoulder centuries later. How did he achieve such incredible depth and detail? And what has science actually revealed about his methods?
It's truly remarkable how scientific analysis can just peel back centuries of time. Modern non-destructive analyses using techniques like infrared reflectography and X-rays have unveiled Van Eyck's incredibly meticulous process. We found evidence of 12 to 14 transparent glaze layers, sometimes even more,
12 to 14, wow.
applied with astonishing precision under a final varnish. And here's the clever bit that really sets him apart. He strategically placed lead-white assiette layers, essentially thin, opaque layers of lead white between these transparent glazes.
Like little reflectors.
Exactly like tiny hidden mirrors. These white layers acted to reflect light back through the overlying transparent colors, enhancing the luminosity and vibrancy even further. This technical innovation, in stark contrast to the matte finish of tempera, produced incredibly bright, deep, and jewel-like colors that seem to glow from within.
Which you can totally see in the painting.
You really can. Think about the shimmering light on the silk fabrics in the portrait, the almost three-dimensional reflection of that single flame on the brass chandelier, or the microscopic details of the 8 mini passion scenes exquisitely rendered within the mirror's frames.
Unbelievable detail.
These details simply would not have been possible without this groundbreaking oil technique and his unparalleled control over it. Furthermore, Van Eyck was a master of optical effects, truly pushing the boundaries of perception. For instance, he could create an effect where a texture that appears, say, a simple brown to the naked eye, would shimmer and shift to purple, ruby, or dark chestnut depending on the intensity and angle of the light hitting it.
How did he do that?
He achieved this by internally vibrating a mixture of alizarin red and ultramarine, basically. The subtle interplay of these pigments created this dynamic, almost living surface. It's incredibly sophisticated stuff.
Amazing.
And what's even more revealing about his creative process is its fluidity. Infrared reflectograms from 1995 unveiled that Van Eyck often reversed his traditional drawing then painting method. He would improvise details like the elaborate chandelier and even the little dog,
The dog was improvised.
apparently added in the final layers without preparatory lines underneath. This shows he was constantly updating and refining the composition right up until the very end, demonstrating a remarkable confidence and responsiveness in his artistic vision.
That's incredible confidence.
It really is.
Yeah.
Art historians are in broad agreement that this technical manipulation offered viewers what they call a transoptic experience, one that surpassed mere photographic clarity, immersing the viewer in a heightened and almost hyper-real sense of perception.
Transoptic, I like that.
It was a way of seeing that engaged your senses and your intellect in a profound way, drawing you deeper into the painting's meticulously constructed world.
It's like he was creating a window into another world, but one filled with these tangible objects, and each object seems to tell a complex, layered story. Speaking of that, let's explore the physical layout of that room and the objects within it. It's far more than just a setting. It's his meticulously crafted statement about their lives and values. What do these domestic details reveal?
Right. The deep perspective room in the Arnolfini portrait functions almost like a meticulously curated inventory of 1430s Flemish upper-middle-class household items, a real snapshot of bourgeois luxury.
Okay.
You can discern the solid oak-beamed ceiling, a carved bench adorned with lion figures, which is a nod to the aristocratic tastes of the Burgundian court, a bedpost supporting a statue of St. Margareta.
We'll come back to her.
Definitely. Rich red wool curtains and a beautifully crafted, probably ornate storage chest, referred to as a hopen chest, likely made from expensive imported Lebanese cedar.
Every item speaks wealth.
Each item speaks volumes about a certain level of affluence and taste, yes, but they are not just possessions. They are laden with profound symbolism. Take the single-armed candlestick, for instance.
The one with a single flame.
Exactly. It's a luxury piece, a specialized lamp known as a lucerna, produced by master casters from the Iberian Peninsula. The fact that only the candle on the left arm, Gioni's side, is burning, this symbolizes divine light never extinguishing within the household and the divine approval of the marriage bond. It's a very specific, quiet statement of faith and continuity.
And the oriental rug on the floor. It's so striking, not just for its beauty, but its placement feels deliberate.
Yes, that Iranian-made small carpet is particularly telling. The fashion of the time typically dictated that such precious rugs were draped over tables, elevated as objects of display.
Right, you wouldn't walk on it.
Usually not. However, Van Eyck deliberately depicts it on the floor, allowing guests to actually step on it or touch it. This subtle but powerful gesture emphasizes the extraordinary generosity and confidence of the hosts, almost an invitation to literally walk on their wealth.
That's quite a statement.
It is. Then there are the oranges on the windowsill, seemingly just casually left there. As we discussed, these were not local produce, they were luxury imports, a rare and expensive commodity reaching Bruges via Castilian ships from the Mediterranean.
Representing the trade routes again.
Precisely. Their presence invisibly integrates the Flemish-Mediterranean trade axis directly into the composition, showcasing the Arnolfini's global reach and economic power. And if you look closely at the floor, you'll notice removed patterns.
The wooden clogs.
Yes, the wooden clogs removed on the floor and a broom attached to the end of the bed. These seemingly mundane everyday items actually support a deeper metaphor. They present the home as a sacred space, almost chapel-like in its purity, with the couple themselves as the focus of a deeply significant, almost ceremonial event.
So what does this all mean then? How do these seemingly everyday objects tell such a rich, deeper story? Are they simply practical items, or are they profound symbols, or is it always both?
It is profoundly both, and I think that's the genius of Van Eyck here. He masterfully layers practical functionality with profound symbolic meaning in virtually every object he renders. It's not an either situation at all.
Okay.
It's the complex interplay that creates the painting's multifaceted richness. He's showing us their material world while simultaneously hinting at their spiritual and social aspirations. It's a testament to how deeply interwoven belief, status, and daily life were in the 15th century.
And we can learn even more about this layering, this interplay, through these modern scientific analyses we mentioned. It's like science allows us to peel back the very layers of the paint and glimpse the artist's evolving thought process, almost in real time as he worked. What astonishing things have we discovered by looking beneath the surface?
It's truly remarkable how scientific methods have granted us this unprecedented access to Van Eyck's creative journey. The combined infrared reflectograms from the National Gallery labs have provided incredible insights into his revisions and decisions. For instance, initial analyses revealed that Giovanni's head was first drawn slightly higher and turned more towards his wife.
Oh, interesting.
However, Van Eyck later lowered his figure and subtly redirected his gaze towards the viewer. This deliberate change in gesture indicates a conscious decision to make you, the observer, a direct witness to the pictorial space, drawing you intimately into the narrative unfolding within the frame.
Making us part of it.
Exactly. Similarly, Costanza's eyes were initially drawn in a slightly different position, but were later moved slightly upwards. This subtle adjustment was crucial to equalize the couple's sightline, creating a stronger sensory connection between them and contributing to a more balanced compositional harmony, making their interaction feel more natural and direct.
That level of minute adjustment for emotional and compositional impact is just astounding. Even the smallest details, like shoes, were subject to revision. It shows just how much deliberation went into every single brushstroke.
Absolutely. Take the shoes on the floor, for example. The infrared scans showed that they were drawn in no less than 3 different versions.
3 versions of the shoes.
Yes, with the painter ultimately widening the sole in the final version to strengthen the vanishing line, further enhancing the deep perspective of the room and the illusion of depth. This wasn't just about making things look realistic. It was about meticulously shaping the viewer's entire visual experience and guiding their eye through the space.
Wow.
What's even more fascinating is the evidence of Van Eyck's wet-in-wet technique for certain elements. Much of the architectural detail, the intricate mirror frame, the detailed brass chandelier, the little griffin dog, even the complex patterns on the oriental rug was applied without preparatory lines underneath,
Oh, so he was just painting them straight on.
indicating that Van Eyck was adding new details or refining existing ones while the lower paint layers were still wet. This suggests an astonishing confidence, fluidity, and almost improvisational genius in his execution, a testament to his complete mastery of the oil medium.
Incredible skill.
And the pigment analyses further confirm this mastery, revealing the precise materials he used to achieve such luminescence. They show layers of lac-lake red, the precious lapis lazuli for blues, copper arsenate, often referred to as Schweinfurt green, and vibrant lead tin yellow, all meticulously applied in incredibly thin, almost translucent glazes.
Creating that inner light.
Exactly. This layering created an unparalleled translucency, allowing the light to interact with the pigments in a way that produced truly luminous and vibrant colors that seemed to glow from within. As we mentioned earlier, art historians largely agree that this technical manipulation offered the viewer that transoptic experience,
Right.
one that goes beyond mere photographic clarity. It's a way of seeing that engages your senses and intellect in a profound way, drawing you deeper into the painting's world, making it feel more vivid and present than a photograph ever could. It's not just observing, it's almost experiencing.
This brings us to another critical layer of the painting. The rich language of symbols. Every object, it seems, speaks volumes, sometimes with multiple intertwined meanings. It's like decoding a visual poem.
Indeed, almost every object in the Arnolfini portrait carries this dual symbolism, enriching the narrative with layers of meaning. Consider the small Griffin Terrier dog right in the center, a symbol often overlooked or seen as just a pet.
Yeah, the cute dog.
Right. But in medieval morality texts, the dog was a recurring motif for feeds or fidelity, symbolizing loyalty, trustworthiness, and unwavering devotion, particularly within marriage. Yet simultaneously, it also serves as a subtle nod to the fashionable lapdog that was incredibly popular among court ladies of the period.
So it's both high symbolism and trendy pet.
Exactly. It's both allegorical and a marker of contemporary status and luxury. Then there's the woman's vibrant emerald-toned dress. The color itself, achieved with incredibly expensive imported vegetable dyes from Italy, was a clear sign of immense wealth and global connections.
Okay.
But beyond its material value, the color green was also a potent symbol of hope for fertility and new life, a common aspiration in marriage during that era, and the gathered fabric around her waist.
Yeah, everyone thinks she's pregnant.
Many viewers, even today, incorrectly interpret it as a definitive sign of pregnancy.
Right.
However, it actually reflected the principle of much fabric equals much wealth, a concept known as stoffa sprezzatura.
Stoffa sprezzatura, fabric extravagance.
Precisely. It was a bold display of luxurious textile abundance, not necessarily a maternal gesture. This detail alone often challenges initial perceptions of the painting quite significantly.
That's a huge shift in how many people initially see the painting.
Right.
And the St. Margareta statue on the bedpost is another powerful symbol, especially considering the ongoing debates around Costanza's fate. It adds a poignant layer.
Absolutely. Saint Margareta, depicted in miniature spearing a dragon, was revered as a protector of childbirth and virginity. This detail carries a dramatic irony, particularly if we lean into the strong possibility that Costanza Trenta did die young, perhaps tragically due to complications from childbirth.
Which makes the painting almost mournful.
It imbues the painting with a poignant, almost mournful layer that transcends a simple marital portrait. And let's revisit the candlestick. The single burning candle on Giovanni's side, starkly contrasted with the burned-out wick on the arm directly in front of the woman, creates a deeply melancholic duality.
Life and death.
That's how it's been interpreted, symbolizing life and, tragically, death. Art historians have noted that this specific detail, the snuffed candle, was a very late addition to the composition.
Oh, really?
Added later.
Yes, a fact that powerfully strengthens the memorial interpretation of the painting, suggesting it was modified perhaps to commemorate a loss rather than celebrate a new union.
Wow, that's compelling evidence for the memorial theory. It is, and the 10 scenes of Christ's Passion intricately worked into the mirror's frame are another profound example of layered symbolism. They juxtapose the intimate, everyday home setting with the overarching narrative of Christ's salvation and sacrifice, imbuing the domestic space with sacred meaning and blessing the bond depicted within.
Bringing the sacred into the home.
Exactly. And finally, the couple's hand-holding gesture. This gesture, known as fides manualis, implies legal legitimacy. It was a common form of local handshake oath, signifying a binding agreement, a promise, or a formal contract not exclusively marriage.
This could be business or something else.
It could be related to business or perhaps betrothal. So this raises an important question that has fueled centuries of debate. How much of what we see was purely practical, a display of wealth, and how much was deeply symbolic, carrying layers of religious, moral, or even tragic meaning? Van Eyck, through his intricate detail, masterfully makes it clear that it's all intertwined, inviting us to explore all these possibilities simultaneously. It's truly an open-ended narrative.
And the mirror, oh, the mirror. It's like a world unto itself within the painting, a miniature universe that not only expands the scene, but also subtly reveals the painter himself. It truly is a masterpiece within a masterpiece.
It absolutely is, and it's arguably the painting's most striking and innovative element. The 28-centimeter convex mirror doesn't just cleverly expand the visual space behind the couple, allowing us to see details of the room that would otherwise be obscured.
Crucially,
The figures. It reflects two additional figures entering the room from beyond the threshold. These figures are widely believed to be Van Eyck himself and another witness, effectively confirming the couple's moment of union or agreement. It's Van Eyck's ingenious way of placing himself directly into the narrative as a documentarian.
he's literally in the painting, witnessing it.
Precisely. What's more, the 10 miniature passion scenes, worked meticulously into the mirror's decagonal frame, served to bless the marital bond through the profound concepts of passion martyrdom, tying the domestic sphere to Christian salvation. The inspiration for this intricate frame design is thought to come from multiple mirrors known as Niganoog or Nine-Eye, which were popular in Flanders at the time for their multifaceted reflections.
And this brings us back to Van Eyck's famous signature on the wall, Johannes de Eyck voor Eyck. It's not just an artist's signature, it's almost like a legal stamp of approval, a profound connection between the artistic act and a formal event. It's such a bold claim of presence.
Precisely. Van Eyck's Gothic script signature on the wall directly evokes the formula used by legal notaries of the time, effectively stating Jan van Eyck was here as a witness to this event.
Wow.
This transforms Van Eyck from merely an artist into this multifaceted figure, taking on the roles of artist, witness, and, strikingly, a documentarian of the event, lending an unprecedented air of authenticity and authority to the painting.
That's fascinating. Has science revealed anything more about the mirror itself?
Yes, actually. Modern multispectral scans from just 2024 have revealed fascinating technical secrets within the mirror itself. Microscopic cracks in the mirror shell and polish show high amounts of lead-tin alloy particles.
Lead tin.
Yes, supporting the hypothesis that metal powder was mixed into the paint for an enhanced brilliance and reflective quality, giving it that almost otherworldly shimmer. The mirror surface also ingeniously miniaturizes and repeats elements of the room. The two successive windows, the woman's horizontal arm, and the chandelier's sparkle, creating a sophisticated picture-within-a-picture strategy that draws the viewer even deeper into its illusion, making us question where the painting ends and reality begins.
It's a recursive visual trick.
Exactly, and centuries ahead of its time.
So with all these layers of symbolism, revolutionary technique, and profound historical context, it's really no wonder there's been this enduring and passionate debate about the painting's true meaning. Is it purely a marriage document, or is there something else entirely going on?
This is where the story of the Arnolfini portrait truly becomes a living, evolving narrative in art history. For decades, the dominant interpretation was Erwin Panofsky's highly influential 1934 reading of the work as a visual marriage contract signed by Van Eyck.
Panofsky's theory, right?
In this view, the hand-holding gesture and the presence of the two witnesses reflected in the mirror were seen as irrefutable documentation of a formal wedding ceremony, a kind of pictorial legal document. However, that interpretation was significantly challenged in 1997.
Okay, what happened then?
Groundbreaking archival findings by the art historian Lorne Campbell emerged. Campbell meticulously proved that Giovanni d'Arrigo and Jane Chinami, who were previously thought to be the subjects of the portrait, actually married in 1447, a full 13 years after the painting was dated.
Oh, wow, so it couldn't be their wedding portrait.
Exactly. This discovery led to a crucial re-identification of the subjects to Giovanni di Niccolao Arnolfini and Costanza Trenta. This new information significantly strengthened the memorial theory that the portrait actually commemorates Giovanni di Niccolao's first wife, Costanza, who tragically passed away in 1433, possibly in childbirth.
making the painting a poignant posthumous tribute.
Precisely.
So, a dramatic shift from a joyful union to a poignant commemoration. But other scholars have added even more fascinating layers to this complex interpretation, haven't they? It's not just a binary choice between marriage or memorial.
Absolutely not. The richness of this work lies in its multifaceted interpretations. Margaret Carroll, for instance, offered a compelling reading of the painting as a transfer of commercial power.
Commercial power. How so?
She suggested that the man, Giovanni, directs his business rights outward, symbolized by the world seen through the window, while actively delegating domestic authority and management to the woman, Costanza, emphasizing her crucial role within the household economy.
Interesting take.
Edwin Hall, on the other hand, argued that the Furds Manualis gesture, the hand-holding, wasn't necessarily a formal marriage vow unique to a wedding, but rather a common local handshake oath form used for various legal, commercial, or personal agreements in Bruges at the time.
So maybe it was a business deal.
That opens up even more possibilities for the painting's purpose, yes. And more recently, feminist readings, particularly from 2023-24, have emerged, emphasizing the woman's central and prominent position in the space, not merely as a passive caregiving role, but as indicative of her equal agency within the tradition of domestic piety, highlighting her spiritual and moral authority within the home.
So highlighting her power within that sphere.
Exactly. What's truly fascinating here is that this rich and ongoing debate actually creates a whole set of interpretive layers that cannot be reduced to a single, definitive iconographic interpretation. The very ambiguity is part of its genius.
Yeah, the uncertainty keeps it alive.
It does. The work is incredibly valuable as a primary source for understanding diverse aspects of 15th century life, including law, theology, gender studies, the emerging merchant class, and even the cultural attitudes towards death and commemoration. It allows us to ask more questions than it provides definitive answers, making it endlessly compelling for scholarship across many disciplines.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really shows how even centuries later, a single work of art can continue to spark new insights and conversations, inviting scholars from incredibly diverse fields to contribute to its understanding. It's truly a living, breathing document of history and human experience. Let's delve into another incredibly rich aspect of the painting now, the costumes and textiles themselves. They're not just beautiful, they're incredibly powerful status indicators, almost a non-verbal language of wealth and social standing.
They absolutely are. In 15th century Bruges, clothing was a meticulously coded language. Giovanni's dark brown houppelande coat, with its wide, voluminous sleeves trimmed with incredibly expensive sable fur.
Sable, top of the line.
Absolutely. And its voluminous, wrinkled drape was meticulously designed to emphasize the authoritative masculine silhouette characteristic of Burgundian fashion. The cost of such a garment was astronomical for the time, calculated to literally exceed a craftsman's entire annual income.
Wow, more than a year's wages in one coat.
Easily. It was an unmistakable declaration of his immense wealth, his discerning taste, and his elevated standing in society. Costanza's vibrant green Herigo dress is equally telling. The vivid color, that striking emerald, was achieved with incredibly expensive imported vegetable dyes from Italy.
Again, showing those trade connections.
Exactly, showcasing the global reach of their wealth and the sophisticated trade networks they were part of. Its ice blue silk lining and the delicate white linen veil, paired with the fashionable angular horned headdress, subtly hint at the luxurious trade networks that extended all the way to major textile and fashion centers like Florence and Lucca.
It's all about layers of luxury.
It is, and it's important to reiterate, as we touched on earlier, that the sheer abundance of fabric in her gown was not, as often misinterpreted by modern viewers, a sign of pregnancy.
Right, the stoffa sprezzatura.
Exactly, the stoffa sprezzatura, or fabric extravagance tradition of the time. This was a direct display of opulence through the sheer quantity of costly material used. The more fabric, the more wealth, pure and simple.
Got it.
And if you look closely, her thin, delicate, gold-threaded girdle belt at the waist was actually commonly used as a fertility charm in medieval marriages, adding another layer of meaning related to domestic life and the hopes for family continuation.
Okay, another symbolic detail.
And finally, their footwear also carries significant meaning, functioning as what are called liminal objects. Giovanni's red leather pattens, those wooden clogs removed and left on the floor near the couple, serve to symbolically separate the grime and dirt of the outside world from the sanctity and purity of the interior domestic space.
Marking the threshold.
They act as a threshold, yes, underscoring the sacredness of the home. The tin inlaid brass ornaments on their soles are not just decorative. They demonstrate both the exceptional skill of the master craftsman who made them and the refined taste of the owner, a subtle detail that speaks volumes about their bespoke luxury.
So much meaning in just a pair of shoes.
What's fascinating here is how every thread, every fold of fabric, every small detail communicated status, wealth, and profound meaning in that era. It's an entire world of semiotics contained just within their attire.
It's incredible how much information is embedded in seemingly mundane or practical details. This brings us to how daily life and the broader economic cultural context were woven into the very fabric of these domestic objects, transforming a home into a kind of living exhibition.
Indeed, the domestic space in the Arnolfini portrait is this carefully orchestrated blend of ostentation and functionality, a kind of personal museum of their affluence. The thick red curtains seen on the bed, for example.
It's very luxurious looking.
They mimic the great bed tradition of nobility, a symbol of prestige and hospitality, and a sign of their aspirations to aristocratic living. But they also serve the highly practical purpose of retaining heat in Flanders' often damp and cold winters.
Right. Practical and showy.
This demonstrates how display and pragmatic functionality were seamlessly integrated within the same visual frame. Form and function were not separate, but intrinsically linked. The animal-figured carvings on the bench aren't just decorative details. They bring the grotesque Gothic aesthetic, a popular style in the Burgundian court, directly into the home.
Showing their connection to high culture.
Showing the family's aspiration and connection to aristocratic tastes and the cultural trends of the powerful elite, yes.
Oh.
And the colored glass panes in the window document a fascinating technological transition for Bruges glassmakers, from the traditional intricate stained glass art to the emerging practice of plain glass production, which would become increasingly common.
Little details telling bigger stories.
What's truly remarkable is how objects like the citrus fruits we discussed, the exotic spices implied by the wealth but perhaps subtly present in the air or in other unseen details, and the oriental rug are not just elements of domestic comfort, they are in effect a literal inventory of Arnolfini's international trade routes.
Their business made visible.
It's a subtle but powerful reminder of how their vast economic empire touched every corner of their lives. The entire atmosphere the painting presents to the viewer can be described as a kind of domestic fair, revealing the transformation of the increasing consumer culture of the period into a domus lux, a sophisticated display of pure domestic luxury, where their home became a testament to their global reach.
Domus Lux, domestic luxury display.
Thus, the work simultaneously serves as a showcase for both the intimacy of private space and the highly public prestige indicators of global trade and immense wealth. It's a statement that their private world is as grand and connected as the public marketplace.
It's like looking into a 15th century shop window, but it's their living room. It's their entire economic empire, their aspirations, their personal lives, encapsulated in one incredibly intimate setting. Given its complexity and significance, the painting itself has had quite a journey through time, a biography of its own, hasn't it? What's its fascinating history of ownership?
It truly does. The Arnolfini portrait has an exceptionally colorful and storied history of ownership, literally witnessing centuries of European history unfold. After it left Van Eyck's studio, it likely passed from the Arnolfini family, perhaps circulating among their powerful Italian merchant connections, before making its way into the hands of Spanish Habsburg diplomats who were active in the Low Countries. We know for certain it was recorded in Brussels in 1516, already a highly prized possession.
So quite early on.
Yes. From there, it eventually entered the prestigious Spanish royal collection in the 17th century, a testament to its enduring artistic and cultural value. What's particularly dramatic is its turbulent sale for £400 to a merchant named Banco del Gardino during the tumultuous period of the English Civil War in 1649.
When Charles I's collection was sold off.
Exactly, when the assets of King Charles I were being dispersed. This shows its incredible value even in a time of national upheaval. After that, it circulated among various prominent English collectors in the early 19th century, before finally being purchased by the newly formed National Gallery in London for £600 in 1842.
And that's where it is now.
That's where it is now. This acquisition was pivotal as it then opened the painting up to unprecedented public access and scholarly study.
And its popularity seems to have only grown over time, fueling both public fascination and intense scientific inquiry. It seems to have this timeless appeal.
Precisely. Its popularity significantly increased in the Victorian era, driven by a growing public interest in these mystic marriage narratives, which resonated with the prevailing romantic interpretations of the painting at the time.
People love the romance angle.
They did. People were drawn to its perceived intimacy and symbolism. Then, in the 20th century, the advent of new technical analyses and scientific tools allowed art historians and conservators to literally peer beneath the surface, only fueling scientific curiosity and transforming our understanding of Van Eyck's groundbreaking methods.
Science deepening the mystery in a way.
In a way, yes. So this work has witnessed not only significant political turmoil, major dynastic shifts in power, and the rise and fall of empires, but also the evolving ideals of museology, art history, and public art appreciation throughout its remarkable collection history. It's a real survivor carrying layers of its own story.
And its legacy, its profound influence on Western art history, is just as expansive and enduring as its own biography. It feels like a foundational text for so many later artists.
Absolutely. The Arnolfini portrait stands as an undeniable trailblazer in Western art. Its influence on countless artists and art movements across centuries is undeniable, not just in terms of its revolutionary technical clarity and symbolic intensity, but particularly in its groundbreaking use of the mirror motif and its ability to create these hyper-realistic illusions of space.
You can see it everywhere once you look.
You really can. You can clearly see echoes of Van Eyck's innovations in the meticulous detail of Holbein's Tudor court portraits, in the serene and light-filled domestic interiors of Vermeer, and even in the almost photographic realism pursued by 19th century pre-Raphaelite painters. It truly set a new standard for how artists could represent reality and embed meaning within it.
So its influence isn't just historical. It stretches into the modern era as well, subtly shaping contemporary art and even popular culture.
Without a doubt. We find its modern echoes in fascinating and often unexpected ways. Think of Salvador Dali's 1934 drawing, The Visage of War with Arnolfini portrait hidden inside it, which speaks to the painting's enduring psychological depth and its uncanny ability to hide or reveal truths.
Dali saw something disturbing in it.
Apparently so. Or Marcel Duchamp's playful and intellectually challenging mirror subject manipulations in his Rose Salavi constructions, directly referencing the mirror's transformative power. Even many contemporary photographic works that feature domestic mirror reflections, distorting or expanding space, are in a sense modern reflections of Van Eyck's sophisticated self-referential strategy in this work.
It keeps inspiring new ways of seeing.
It does. This painting transcends simple optical illusion. It actively challenges and opens up profound discussions about the very idea of reality constructed by the act of seeing. It has become one of the primary visual texts guiding what we call epistemological discussions in Western art.
Epistemological, about how we know what we know.
Exactly. Probing how we acquire knowledge through what we see, and how what we see in turn shapes our entire understanding of reality. It's a painting that teaches us how to look.
This raises an important question then. How does a painting from 600 years ago still shape how we understand what we see and how we interpret the world around us, even today, in our image-saturated digital age? Jan van Eyck's Arnolfini portrait truly is a multi-layered masterpiece, isn't it? A time capsule of astonishing depth. Within just a single wooden panel crafted 6 centuries ago, it profoundly condenses the nascent steps of commercial capitalism, the emotional tone of domestic piety, a revolutionary technical leap in painting, and this deep, evolving search for individual identity.
It's all there.
It's all there, waiting to be discovered, analyzed, and endlessly debated.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it becomes clear that whether you interpret it as a formal marriage contract, a poignant lament for the deceased, or even a legal power attorney for business affairs, the work really transcends mere depiction of human relationships.
It does more than just show.
It functions as a ritual object, something that actively creates or validates those relationships and agreements within its pictorial space, much like a legal document might. As the renowned art historian Michael Beck-Sandel famously put it, the viewer doesn't merely read the painting actively reforms the viewer as a partner in a new way of seeing.
It changes how we see. Wow.
It's an active agent in shaping our perception.
And that's the enduring connection this painting offers us, century after century. Every moment we meet the gaze of the Arnolfini couple, we touch with equal clarity both the tangible material world of the 15th century, the furs, the silks, the oranges, and the abstract, timeless concepts of love, death, and fidelity that transcend any single era.
A human element endure.
This multi-layered composition, this endless capacity for reinterpretation and revelation, is precisely what makes the Arnolfini portrait one of the deepest, most enduring, and endlessly fascinating narratives in all of art history. So maybe next time you encounter a seemingly simple image, whether it's a painting in a museum or just a photograph on your phone, consider what hidden layers, what untold stories, what economic forces, or even what personal tragedies might be quietly echoing from its canvas. What other images might be silently reshaping how you see the world without you even realizing it?